Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. His story, the musical, is a new contemporary pop musical and a Broadway-style immersive theatrical event based on the life of Jesus, which features an original book, music, and lyrics by Anna Miriam Brown. The musical kicks off on May 5th at the new state-of-the-art Broadway Tent at Grandscape. And to tell us all about it is the show's two-time Tony Award nominated director of Newsies and Bonnie and Clyde, Jeff Calhoun, and the show's choreographer, Eamon Foley. Welcome, gentlemen. How are you two?
We're good. Hey, Richie, how you doing?
Well, first of all, how are you and where are the two of you right now?
Well, we're in Big D. We're in Texas, getting ready to put on a show. Only a few miles away from the great, the big Ferris wheel at Fair Park. I'm sure you're well aware of all the musicals they do in the summer here. Well, we're just a few miles away from there, and we've pitched our own tent.
I love this. Okay, so have you started tech? Like, where are you guys right now in the process?
Yeah. Every director and choreographer out there who knows what that sigh means. Tech is always challenging. As an actor, it's always the most boring time because you're just standing there while we light. But as a director and choreographer, it's your favorite time because it's when you get to take that dream and make it a reality. But this is fraught with more challenges than normal because, Richie, we wanted to do this in a theater, in a proscenium theater. We couldn't find a theater that would house us for an open-ended run. So I don't know what we were drinking at the time, but we decided that we would just buy a tent, pitch a tent, and put on our show in our own theater. And that's what we've done. But that has compromised, as you can imagine, the tech process because we're literally teching in a construction site. We have to wear hard hats and vests when we go in and out of the theater. I know.
Oh,
I know.
So the theater is being built, the tent's being built as you're teching the show.
That is correct, if you can imagine that. We're here seeing it and we can't imagine it.
Okay, so before we get into that, take me back to the beginning. How did the musical come about for both of you to do, and what made you say, yes, I want to do this?
My agent sent me the music. Anna created these 30 songs in a concept album that are just unbelievable. And a few years prior to this, Eamon reached out to me, wanted to meet and talk and have a meeting. And so we met, and that was the first time I met him, although I remember him on stage, of course, the way you referred to earlier in the evening. And I knew immediately, he sent me his videos after our meeting, and I immediately just put in the back of my mind, wow, when the right project comes along, this is an extraordinary young talent. And so as I'm listening to the music, I'm also seeing it. And I was influenced by Twyla. When Twyla took Billy Joel's music and did Moving Out on Broadway, that's how I wanted to tell this story. And that was the perfect opportunity for me to call this young genius sitting next to me, Eamon Foley. And I knew it was the right project for us.
Eamon, for you, how did this come about for you?
Well, Jeff called and sent this amazing album, and I really wanted to work with Jeff, obviously, and so I was walking in Prospect Park, listening to his story, and song after song, started tumbling, and it started to sort of spin into, a narrative for both of us, and kind of taking this concept album, and it started to weave into something that felt like an evening, and then we got on our feet with a workshop. And I just realized it was the most fun I've ever had choreographing to music before. It just sat really in the pocket of how I like to move and how I see shapes on stage. It didn't feel like a flex. It felt very comfortable. So, we just started riding that wave, and it's been really, really fun material to bring to life.
So for each of you, what makes this project different and unique from other shows that you each have worked on? Either of you can start.
Well, for me, first of all, the subject matter. I think it couldn't have come at a better time. The story of light infiltrating the shadows and the darkness that is, I think, prevalent right now in our society. It certainly was in me, Richie, after post-COVID. It was a very difficult time, right, for all of us. And somehow this coming to me has both been a really healing thing, both on a personal level and professionally. I don't know about you.
Yeah, it's why was this unique? I mean, it's Yeah, I had a really interesting relationship with the church growing up, to be honest. And it's been really wonderful to just get in touch with, this story through Anna's heart, because it's just all about love and, and seeing past people's flaws to the beauty within them. And, taking a story that, we all have our own relationships with, and just, finding beauty and universality within it. And that's been really fabulous, to put this story into contemporary language and a contemporary soundscape, has just made me realize, oh, this is wonderful. And it's just changed my perspective on that. And I've just enjoyed, meeting people who are in touch with the story in a really beautiful way.
Well, let's talk about the young composer and the writer, Anna Miriam Brown. So, you listened to the concept album. When you got to meet her and be in the room with her, talk about the conversations you had with her about collaborating on this and what you admire the most about what she's accomplished at such a young age, right?
Well, she's early in her career, obviously. She was 17, is my understanding, when she started writing this. And so, out of the mouth of babes, it's just such an innocent, laser communicated story. And I think that's just because of her age and where she at. There's a beauty, right, in youth that you try to maintain your whole life. You try to hold on to that, and it's harder the older you get. And so it's really refreshing working with somebody still young and early in their career. And it just, for me, it's like vitamins. She's like a big vitamin for me. I just love working with her. I mean, our whole team, though, is remarkable.
Yeah, this team is amazing. She has this freedom about it because, she's, not that competition, that New York, sort of, aggression. She just writes from her heart. It's so beautiful, and it's instinctual and fabulous, and and she's just an absolute joy to be around because she's really fresh. Yeah.
Let's talk about collaborating together. We didn't have a lot of this during COVID. So for the two of you, it must be so great as a director and a choreographer to be in the room together and talk about your collaboration. Jeff.
Well, for me, anytime you have two people that are both directors and choreographers, it's going to be seamless because you speak the same language. For me, on a personal level, it's a real head trip because I'm reminded so many times of my early work with Tommy Tune and how he was grooming me and how he would watch my work and just say things. And at the time, it would drive me crazy and bug me. And now I find the roles are reversed. And here I'm trying to give a platform for Eamon to soar. And I'm sure he's thinking the same things to himself I was thinking internally to Tommy. So for me, it's really profound, sort of coming of age in an odd way, it feels like for me, and a joy to watch this one work.
It's really, I mean, for me, it's been a match made in heaven. I find that I don't feel like you stamp on my work. I feel like you help it soar, like it's been amazing, speaking the same language as a director who does have profound experience as a choreographer. Jeff can see the potential for how dance can work in a story. So we're speaking the same language, as Jeff said, but also we're able to see, movement can go here, and movement can, kind of carry the weight of the story at this moment, or the subtext, and kind of push it a step further. And we often, kind of see the same thing, at the same time. And I'll throw a bunch of spaghetti at the wall, and Jeff will refine it, pull away, say, yeah, you can push this more. And it's just, it's my first time working with a director who also has choreography experience and really knows what dance is capable of in musical theater storytelling. So it's been really fun.
And something epic like this, Richie, I just think that the dance is more profound than dialogue would be. I'm not interested in these characters talking. I think it would reduce the show to something that wouldn't interest me as much. We're trying to create this beautiful art piece about this amazing story with very few words. So it's mostly sung through and told through the movement of the body. It's really kind of thrilling, Richie. And to be, I woke up this morning to email from Equity. This is my anniversary for Equity today, which I thought, that's always sort of a shocker, right? It was like 46 years ago today, I got my Actors Equity card. So it's fun to be this old and have been doing this for so long and still have a new experience where I feel like I've never done anything like what we're doing right now.
Well, Eamon, talk about the freedom you've had as a choreographer. This is a pop contemporary score. So, like, how easy was it to make you the movement and all of this? Talk about the styles you're using in this for an audience of today.
Yeah, absolutely. So the styles in the show are just, really informed by how Anna writes, how that sits in me. It definitely is, it's hard to name, the style that you're dancing in for a musical, because it just has to, bend to what the story needs and how you're vibing with that moment and the music. But it's definitely more in the contemporary vernacular, because from the round, it's really about how bodies move in space and like the architecture between them. So it's really about the joy of formations and this kind of kaleidoscopic, bird's eye view of how things stretch, kind of more like a snowflake rather than like, across a proscenium. So, playing with symmetry, but also with depth at the same time has made me really think about the XY axis in a really fun way. And it's been, super liberating to know that I'm looking at things from all angles. So, every shape, you can walk around and it has to be beautiful. And that's really, really fun. So I want to pull that into my proscenium work. I think sometimes we're making things for, the orchestra rather than really making a show for the balcony, this thing that, stretches in all dimensions. So I've learned a lot about, the other side of looking at choreography because of the stage, configuration. And I want to pull that into everything. It's been awesome.
And every show I like to have inspiration, whether it be a painter or another kind of artist. And like for Newsies, it was Jackson, who did Michael Kidd. We talked to Chris about it should be like Michael Kidd, the choreography. And for this, the influence that I mentioned to Eamon was Pina Bausch, right at the very beginning.
Yeah,
that was my inspiration for this.
Mm-hmm. So it's pedestrian. It's not the sort of show that has the tricks or even feels super technical, but it wants to feel, because it's so spiritual. It's also about marrying that to something very human. That dichotomy is really fun. So they're just really people making the angel, making making the Wailing Wall, making whatever they are. They're just humans on stage.
And that's what Eamon does so beautifully. Simple is hard. And with Eamon's work, there's not a wasted stroke. Everything is advancing the story. It's fantastic.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now, let's talk about your young cast. I mean, you're discovering a lot of people in this show. So, Jeff and Eamon, talk about what it was like casting this and talk about your cast and what you love the most about them. Jeff.
I mean, I'm lucky because I've had these shows that allow me to work with the new generation and young people, whether it would be High School Musical or Grease or Newsies or Between the Lines. There are these shows that allow me to have young talent, and this is no exception. And I love working with the young generation because they're just as passionate as we were, but they're early in their career, and so they're on time. They don't hold their scripts in their hand when you're blocking because they come in already having memorized their lines. When you teach them their music, they come in the next day and they know it. So it's really fun working with young artists, I find.
Yeah, they're amazing. I mean, they're as Jeff said, super passionate, but you also see that, they're going to be the future. These are the folks that we're going to be watching, for our lifetime. And they're really incredible triple threats. No one in this show, just does one thing. Everyone's on stage the entire time, hopping in and out of, kind of supporting movement roles to, taking the entire stage and the entire story in their hands. So everyone does everything, and watching them be so flexible and hopping into the ensemble and then out for a moment is just, it's a real generous spirit.
So, Jeff, when you casted this show, how do you know when you see someone in the room? How do you say, that's the person I want to play this role? That's the person I want to work with?
Well, the obvious answer is their talent. We're looking for extraordinarily talented people, but I also want people, we've talked about this before, Richie. You want someone you want to date. You're hiring people you're asking an audience to spend a 2.5 evening date with these people. So you're casting people you want to hang out with in addition to their talent. At least that's how I look at it. And if I really like somebody, when they leave the room, I'll pretend I have to go to the bathroom and I'll go out and follow just to see what they are outside the room. And is it the same person that was inside the room?
Yeah, I mean, we definitely found people who just, exuded professionalism and a joy to be there. Just kind of a dropped inness is really enjoyable to see in the room. And yeah, that was just clear when these folks came in.
How big is the company?
We
How
have
many
six,
cast?
we have 16 on stage, and we have 4 swings, but we think we may need to, even though it's the post-COVID, we think we need to probably bring on another 1 or 2 covers. Just to
Well, you know, Jeff, you had mentioned Between the Lines. I want to congratulate you and your projection designer. Now, how do you say your projection designer's name?
Kate Hefner.
Okay, I want to congratulate both of you for your Drama Desk nominations for Between the Lines. You must be so excited.
Yeah, just one more opportunity to lose something.
Don't stop that. No, but what this says to me.
Wonderful. She's remarkable, Richie. Her work on Between the Lines, I thought, was really gorgeous, but she's outdoing herself with this, because here we've given her a 360-degree canvas to project on. What we did, Richie, is we bought the tent from a show called Peter Pan 360. Some people may remember that. It's built so there's nothing obstructing the flying of Peter Pan. So everything holding up the tent is on the outside of the tent. So she has that whole ceiling 360 degrees. It's kind of remarkable.
See,
and it's fun because we haven't seen it yet either. We're kind of figuring it out as we're doing this. I don't know that anyone's ever created a new Broadway musical in the round before, starting in the round. I don't know, but certainly it's never been done here in Dallas, and it's really, really exciting.
but see, this is exciting about what you do. I mean, you've had a lot of firsts with shows that you put together that they're all different. So here the two of you are now in a brand new, putting this immersive theatrical event together in this incredible tent, 360 degrees. I mean, it's got to be scary, but it's also got to be exciting all at the same time for both of you.
Well, you named it. It's scary, it's frightening, and it's exciting. It's all of those things. It really is. I have to tell you, it's the happiest that I've ever been working on a new show. It's really thrilling.
Yeah.
Every level, every person involved, I love being with. And I think the material is unique, completely unique. And how often can you say that? Especially with a show where you know how it ends. You better have a unique way of telling it.
But, in the past, we've had Jesus Christ Superstar, we've had Godspell. I mean, every generation, there seems to be a new person putting their spin on, this story. And, I was listening to the music again. Talk about your creative musical creative team. I mean, is it Rick Hip Flores? I mean, talk about the people working with you two.
You want to talk about it?
Sure. I mean, Rick. Gosh, Rick is amazing. I mean, Anna's score is so phenomenal. And so then to take someone like Rick with so much experience, who knows to, expand the vocals into, an ensemble that just, soars and, and has written so much more music to, make this narrative, making it, match those original, lush orchestrations. He's just, he's so a part of the fabric of this piece. And he's, made something really special, and also, helped this young cast, just sound incredible. It's wild because, a lot of these folks are coming in, with a dance background too. So he's really stretched, the capabilities of these folks and just made it sound so full and honestly cinematic.
Yeah. Rick has that real gift.
Yeah.
A lot of pop artists write great music, but it needs to be made stage worthy. And there are people that do that, whether it's Stephen Aremus, or what he does with Dolly Parton, or Jason Howland with Carole King. Rick has that ability to take these great pop songs and make them stage worthy.
And let's talk about some of your talk about your scenic designer, Jeff. You've worked with him so much.
Yeah, Tobin, I call him my secret weapon.
Yeah.
I'm loyal, and you feel comfortable working with people where you developed a shorthand over the years. And with Tobin, I can say over the decade. And he's done just a masterful job taking the show and finding out how to put it in the round, and yet at the same time being timeless. Yeah. And that's a really hard thing to do, especially sightlines when you're dealing with the round, right? You can't put scenery in the middle because then you block sightlines. But yet it's the 21st century, so people expect production values. So it's been a real interesting balancing act, and I think he's nailed it.
Yeah, if I can speak to that, yesterday, during tech, it just kind of all became so apparent, this deceptive quality in what he's, designed, this thing that seems super, it is super sleek and it feels super simple when you walk in, and then it just unfolds and all this like, magic is kind of capable within something that, looks, just very, is it deceptively simple or deceptively
simple.
Deceptively simple.
You think it's simple, but
Yeah.
you know how hard simple is in design,
Yeah.
right? Jettisoning anything that's superfluous, and that's hard to do.
And like, it's something that feels like there's not a whole lot on stage is actually, designed in a way that lends itself to choreography in a great way. I feel very lucky because, there's all these, levels and such that, while maintaining perfect sightlines from every, I don't want to say corner, but every, yes, every degree of this circle, it still is able to have a lot of, diversity to it. So I really enjoy working on this set and working with Tobin because he's just a great guy.
Talk about your wonderful costume designer this time.
Well, Georgia, it's my first time working with Georgia. She's South Korean and she's fantastic. And I spent some time in South Korea, so I really enjoy talking to her about the food and keeping my vocabulary up. And I just love, she reminds me of the great Willa Kim, Richie, if you remember Willa Kim.
Oh,
she
yes.
Very much of Willa, her energy and her spirit. She's a true artist. Georgia is just a true artist.
And then your lighting designer.
Well, this is the first for both of us. Sooner, she lives mostly in the rock and roll world, more than the theater world. So that's exciting for us too, because she does shows in arenas and for huge, massive. I mean, she really is the queen of rock and roll lighting. You actually saw her last concert at Madison Square Garden.
I'm a huge fan of Muse. Muse is my favorite band, and when I found out that Sooner did Muse's lighting design, I obviously went and got a ticket. And I mean, she's a choreographer in her own right, like the way that, she can make lights move and marry them to music, also be story oriented, but also, make something that, I don't know, is just kind of like super sensory. It's really exquisite.
What are you each looking forward to that first performance in front of a live audience with this musical?
Having a first performance. Let's start there. That nobody gets hurt. And that everyone has a good time, but is safe. And it's preseason. The previews are preseason if you're a sports fan, right? Our opening game is May 18th. Yeah. So we still have some time. So we're going to be using every second of our preview time to continue to tech and hone and refine the show. So by the time it is the 18th, we can all be the best that we can be.
I can't wait for people to get a taste of this show. I just know people have no idea what this is. People can't quite fathom exactly what our show is because it's completely unprecedented. And I can't wait for people to start, actually seeing what we've been building and the beauty and the earnestness and the heart in it, and also just like the craft. So I think I just can't wait for people to get to know it the way that we've been able to.
I can't wait for us to get to see it. Oh God, it's been gorgeous.
Well, like I said, it's all exciting. Like I said, you're starting on a journey from scratch, and it was a very quick journey for all of you. Like you said, in less than a year, you went from a workshop to having a huge production in a brand new theatrical venue, which is this incredible Grandscape tent that will have doors on it, believe me, before May 5th and everything else. But it's got to be exciting. But any show is like this. You have no idea until the audience is there. And then when the lights are all on, like, oh my God, look what we have and look what we're presenting for people to enjoy.
You're absolutely right. You just never know if the audience is going to like the same thing you like or not, because we love the show. We really love the show. Really. I have to assume that people are going to, I don't know what they're going to take away from it. I hope they just I hope they're inspired by the power of art to bring us together. I really do. Because that's what the story is. And I think that's what I love about the theater. It's the perfect marriage for me.
Well, gentlemen, this is great. I know you have to go back to rehearsal. So for everyone watching, well, once again, His Story, the musical, begins performances on May 5th, and the official opening is May 18th. Tickets are now on sale at Ticketmaster.com. And for more information, just visit His Story, the musical. Gentlemen, I thank you for taking the time out from your rehearsals to visit with us at Broadway World and sitting with me.
Well, we love you, Richie, and we love what you do.
Love you guys. Have a great time. Everybody go to the theater. And if you're in the Dallas area, go see His Story, the musical.
Come on down.
Come on down.
Come on
Take
down.
care, everybody.
See you later.
Thanks, Richie.
stand still.
A theatrical event 2,000 years in the making. Coming to Dallas, Fort Worth, May 5th. His Story the Musical. Witness the glory of the life of Jesus in a new contemporary Broadway musical.
One step at a time in front of me, suddenly the waves
In the Broadway Tent at Grandscape, tickets on sale now. Visit hisstorythemusical.com.